Hello, my name is Danae Kesel. I'm a learning coach here at College for America. I have interviewed one of my students, Jay Carey, who is reflecting on how his learning style changed throughout his time in the program. He began the program in October 2014 and finished with his degree in April 2015. During this interview, he reflects on how his learning style changed and developed while working through the projects. He shares on his relationship with his coach, the feedback from the reviewers, and the project resources, and how they played a role in developing this new learning style. All right. All right, Jay, how would you describe your learning style before starting CFA?
Well, before starting CFA, I felt like I was a hands-on learner. I was the individual that needed to go and actually do something for myself, just to kind of play around with it to decide if that's the way that I was going to learn.
Yes. So could you describe a little bit more about the hands-on learning, like in the past? How did you learn with the hands-on style approach?
So before, for example, let's just say if I was going to change a flat tire, instead of reading about it or gathering any kind of information, I would, say, hey, somebody, I need to learn how to do this. And they would, stand with me next to the tire and say, okay, jack the car up, unscrew, and kind of do it that way. I felt like that was the best way for me to learn before versus maybe conducting any type of research, reading about it. I just felt like I had to do it, be in the moment. And that's how I learned best.
Okay, thank you. And so, how has your learning style and process developed and changed in CFA?
Well, since I've gone through the program in CFA, my learning style had changed quite a bit. Once again, I felt like I learned that way by just kind of doing hands-on. And what I found after the first couple of projects was that style was not conducive to what I really needed to do in order to learn effectively. It gave me the opportunity to kind of go out there and check all of the resources, read a little bit, and kind of do some trial and error. In addition, I felt like that prior to kind of going through the CFA program, I was not an effective listener, and CFA really helped me kind of listen to understand, whereas before I think I listened to respond. And by being able to do that, that has really helped me kind of get through the program, help me in my workplace environment today.
Wow, that's really powerful to say that you have changed your listening style also in CFA. And how did using the resources help in developing this style of learning for you?
I felt by printing and reading the resources thoroughly, I learned quite honestly that I wasn't the most effective reader. I think I was that person that kind of scanned through the material, maybe highlighted a few points, but didn't necessarily understand the entire content of whatever it was that I was kind of going through. And in going through CFA and getting the not yets or maybe missing a couple of key concepts or highlights that I needed to hit upon, it allowed me to go back and really thoroughly read and reread until I got a clear understanding of what the resource was talking about.
Mm-hmm. And in College for America, we don't have instructors, like you said, that stand beside you and show you step by step. We have reviewers who give feedback. So did you learn how to incorporate the feedback into your learning style?
Well, boy, did I ever. That was the biggest gift that I could ever get. And I know I've used an analogy with you in the past about, getting the pair of socks under the Christmas tree. That was my not yet. It was a gift that maybe I didn't really want, but was so thankful to get because it really helped me learn and understand each one of the competencies that I needed to work on. And so I am so incredibly thankful, not only for you as a coach, but for all of the reviewers that allowed me to continue to learn and grow through this entire program.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And you mentioned our coaching relationship. So I'm curious, what role did the coaching relationship play for you in developing your learning style?
So I haven't been in an educational institution in 23 years. So you, for me, were kind of like a cheerleader, a coach, a teacher, and a role model as it related to any type of questions that I had about how we were going to go through this process. I felt like it was a joint effort. I felt like you helped me along the way get this, and we're just, like I said, always there, a rocket support, even through my illnesses, through questions, through a 4-month project struggle, through a misunderstanding on a project. I just felt like that you were always somebody as a coach that I could reach out to and get any kind of information or advice. You also encouraged me to participate in the learning community, which to this day is something that I try to do on a regular daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And can you think, this is an extra question, but is there a project that you can recall where you really saw that learning style come into play? It's kind of like if you had had that project before CFA, you would have approached it in a very different way.
Absolutely. The lifeboat dilemma literally was the life of me. It took me 4 months to kind of get through that project, and that's when I really had to go back and reevaluate my learning style. And that's really the one that taught me that I wasn't necessarily listening to understand. I was more listening to respond. Some of the content and the project resources were in a very thick British accent, which I struggled with. And as a struggle, I think I was more worried about the tone and the accent that he was using versus understanding the information. So I really had to go and process those specific resources a multitude of times, and then come to terms with my several not yets throughout that. I can't even count how many not yets I got, but my reviewer was just absolutely fantastic throughout that entire process. Unfortunately, during that project, I also fell ill for several weeks. So it was just kind of a joint effort of you listening to me vent, me trying to understand the appropriate learning style that I needed to kind of adjust with this specific project, as well as the reviewer, who I will never forget how awesome she was.
Mm-hmm. So in a sense, it was all these different pieces that helped to develop this learning style for you then, for the reviewers, the coach, the resources.
Yeah, so it's just a joint, kind of culmination. It's just, and that's the model that I love about CFA. It's impossible to fail. Mm-hmm. It's everybody who's there, has resources, has support for you, and I just absolutely love CFA.
Yes. So you have graduated from the AA program, and yes, now you are in the BA program. So what do you see today as the benefits of this learning style that you have developed?
So the transition I felt was fairly smooth as a result of the way that my learning has kind of changed over the last 6 to 8 months. So I took it with a completely different approach, whereas when I first started AA, I was kind of approaching it blindly. And now, throughout all of the learnings that I've gathered through the AA program, it's allowed me to go and completely understand and start forming relationships within the community, understand the content, the resources, the competencies, and the deliverables. So it really has helped with the way that I've actually approached a project. And although I'm not moving through it as quickly as I did with the AA, I want to make sure that I have a very clear understanding of the project. And once again, throughout my learning style, it's changed. So I feel like I'm on the right track.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So here's another question. So have you seen any ways that you have adapted this learning style to other areas of your life?
So lots of them, especially in the workplace, and it's been noticed by many people in my organization. Once again, I work for McDonald's. We have 53 restaurants, and I oversee about 500 employees. And the amount of people that have talked to me about the way my style has changed over the last 8 months, my leadership style, my management style, the way that I listen to understand versus listening to respond, the way that kind of the mindset on which I attack projects inside our restaurants is just completely different. And, I really do attribute that to CFA. In addition to the confidence that I have, the ability to get up and talk in front of people, I didn't have all of that prior to going through this experience. And I believe that a lot of the projects really helped with that along the way.
Yes, I remember that that transition for you with the videos.
Yes.
Yes, that was an area of growth.
I have no problem with the Google Hangout now. Before, I didn't want to see myself. Right?
Yes. Yes. Very good. And so do you have any other thoughts or reflections you'd like to share?
Well, I just think that, like I said, this process has just been so amazing. For me, I've kind of turned into a CFA cheerleader uh, throughout not only the community but throughout my workplace. We now have close to 40 students in our organization that are going through the process. I'm excited to learn that next month CFA has over 500 new students coming in. The one thing that I love most about CFA, or the one thing that's constant, is change. I love how the program is evolving daily, and how it's just becoming so much more exciting for new students, and it's kind of rejuvenating and energizing the ones that are already in the program.
Fantastic. And you played a role in that, haven't you, of bringing in new students and talking about the program?
Yes, I actually have, and I look forward to continuing to do that. The nice thing was I kind of invited them in the program, and then I let them get their wings and fly. So I kind of just, occasionally check up on them, but for the most part, they're all doing very well and kind of flying through the program as well.
Yes. Yes. And you've taken on the role as student ambassador too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen in that work being able to share your learning style with other students?
Yes, actually, we meet probably close to monthly, and we talk a lot about and just more reflect on things that are going on with CFA. We do talk about learning styles. We talk about projects. We talk about the community and just ways that we can not only support ourselves but help support each other as well as fellow students. And it's just great to be a part of such an amazing team. And in that student ambassador role, we've had a couple of workshops that have talked about different leadership styles, skills, etc. So I feel like I'm becoming more well-rounded as an individual as well as a result of the program.
Okay, very good. And then just to kind of wrap it up, what would be kind of your takeaway for how CFA has changed you?
So my takeaway for how CFA has changed you has really made me a better business person. It's allowed me to bond and connect with my child on a more mental and emotional level. It's allowed me to instill behaviors in him, as well as kind of looking back at myself to and exuded confidence in the fact that I can still continue to learn regardless of the fact that I'm 42 years young versus him who's a sophomore in school. So it's just been a true blessing in disguise, and I'm so grateful that I found this program and this program has found me.
Yes, yes, and that was part of your CFA journey too, was connection with your son, with your project
Yes.
and learning. Very good.
Well, best part ever is I got my diploma, and I came home and there was the graduation decorated. It was really cool. He and my mom did a little ceremony for me.
Yes, he made you a cupcake, right?
Yes, he did.
Yes. Very good. All right. Well, thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Danae. I appreciate all of your help and support, and I'm glad that we're still staying in touch.